This is KC95, and welcome to lunch. Two more songs now from the Cars before we wrap it up.
John Hewlett has been a radio DJ for so long. When he started, he was spinning actual Ds.
95 FM, KC Radio, New Jackson Brown, and Hold Out off the latest LP.
He has been on the radio for almost 50 years.
What else?
And despite all the changes in broadcasting, the one thing that has changed very little is where he worked.
KC95, Real Rock Radio.
John Hewlett has been a morning show host for 42 years, working at the same radio station for 47 years.
It wasn't long after I got in there that I realized that this was a special radio station, that something really cool and exciting was going on here every day.
Hewlett, also known to listeners as the U-Man, started at KC in 1976 and immediately adopted the station's laid-back style.
There was one break I remember specifically. It was in the evening, and the song ended, and I just opened the microphone and I said, KC95. And I closed the microphone and started the next song. And the general manager, Shelley Grafman, called up and he said, "Great break! Fantastic! That's how you do it. Stop and go." I said, okay, I think I can do this.
But it wasn't Shelley Grafman who hired John Hewlett. It was KC's program director, Ron Stevens. Ironically, Hewlett turned the job down twice.
I asked him on the second call why he was turning it down, or actually on the third call. And he said, because my mom doesn't want me to take it. And I had to laugh because my mom did the same thing. When I first started working there, I was 19, and she didn't think it was a good idea. But John eventually gave in and took it. The irony, of course, is that he lasted longer than any of us.
Once I got there, I knew not long after that that this was a special place and that I was going to stay here as long as I could possibly stay here, because I was having so much fun and enjoying working with the people I was working with and on that station. KC was cool, you know. If you were on KC, you were cool. And then the artists would show up on a regular basis, trying to get their records sold by using radio. Radio was the main way to get music sold back then. Ozzy Osbourne came into the studio one time, and in advance, his people told us that Ozzy's not drinking anymore. So, you know, that's a good thing, but just in case he wants a drink, can you set up a full bar in the studio? And we're like, well, okay. So we set up this full bar, and he came in, he did the interview, he didn't have a drink, and he left, and here we just had all this alcohol left over, so we drank it.
Hewlett grew up in St. Louis and says listening to Jack Buck calling Cardinals games inspired him to pursue a career in radio. Years later, after Hewlett took a side job as the Cardinals' public address announcer, he became friends with his hero and loves telling the story about the time he and Jack Buck were paired together at a golf tournament.
It's just brutally hot. So we're on the 14th hole, and he says, "John, if I keel over out here, go from my right back pocket." And he's getting ready to hit the ball. Okay. He tees up the ball and he swings. And I said, "Jack, why should I go for your right back pocket?" He said, "I came over here straight from the racetrack and there's $4,000 back there." Wow.
Despite his admiration for Jack Buck, on the radio, Hewlett and company took great pleasure in making fun of the on-air personalities at KMOX. In 1991, KMOX got even after pressuring the Cardinals to fire Hewlett from his stadium job because of a stunt he pulled on the radio during the first Gulf War, in reaction to listeners calling KC, saying America should just nuke the Middle East.
I thought, it needs to get people's attention to make a statement here, a satirical, humorous statement that we don't really want to be dropping nuclear bombs, do we? It's silly. And so I took a little bit of audio of a 60s announcer, 50s announcer going, "Warning, warning, the United States is under nuclear attack. This is not a test," And I put that in with a fake explosion. And I got home, not concerned at all. I turned on the news, and there I was. And they said, a local announcer makes a fake nuclear attack. And I remember sitting in the chair in my house going, uh-oh.
Despite the uproar, Hewlett kept his job on the radio and got his job back with the Cardinals. And the man who first hired him at KSHE thinks it's more than just talent that has allowed John Hewlett to survive in the volatile business of broadcasting.
John Hewlett is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He treats every listener like they're somebody, and they are, and he knows that. He treats everyone like a friend, and over the air you got to be a friend. You want to get up in the morning and hear a friend. You want to hear the news from a friend. John's been that friend to a lot of people for many years.
At age 66, John Hewlett is on a slow glide path toward retirement, now just working part-time at KSHE.
Because there were so many great memories that happened there.
And now I'm going to cry.
John U-Man Hewlett is believed to be the longest-serving full-time rock radio DJ in America. But what he still hasn't quite figured out is why.
I'm not the most entertaining, exciting guy out there. I know I've somehow made it in radio all this long without being that, and I can't explain it. And I got lucky too. I mean, I started when I was 19 years old at the station. So I had a real early start on being able to really run out a long career and get it this far. Somehow, some way, I was able to hang in there.